Welcome to today's DNA. We will be discussing 5 topics. First 4 topics are related to the prelims and 4th topic is related to the mains. Now first topic will be the 131 Constitutional Amendment Bill, right, 2025. Second is the IBSA, right. Third is the state PCS. Fourth is the COP 30, right. And fourth article is on the United Nations Security Reform. First news is on proposed 131st Constitutional Amendment Bill. So we'll have to understand that as per the recent update, Minister of Home Affairs denied that they are trying to propose this bill because it became quite controversial, and if anything is controversial, it becomes naturally the favorite topic for the UPSC. So let us try to understand what was the proposal behind the 131st Constitutional Amendment Bill, right. So how Constitutional Amendment Bill are passed? So there are separate provision under Article 368. You might be knowing, I am giving you the background, right, and this is relevant for the GS paper 2 as well as you can use in GS paper 4 as well. As of now, since results are out, in interview, if you are coming from the Punjab or Chandigarh or Haryana, it can be asked. So it become quite relevant for the interviews as well, right. So now let us try to ponder upon the question, the topic more, right. So what happened? The recently, basically, central government, union government, intended to introduce one bill pertaining to the change in the administrative framework of the Union Territory of the Chandigarh, UT of Chandigarh, right. So since all the things are related to the Chandigarh, let us try to ponder more upon the Chandigarh. What it is, what is the significance of the Chandigarh in the Indian political and administrative scenario, right. So basically, Chandigarh is India's first planned city. You might be knowing very interesting fact that it is India's first planned city, right. And famously, it was designed by Le Corbusier, right. And however, it was basically initiated by Albert Mayer, who was not able to complete this task. Hence, he was captured in the background. You can see the image of the architect of the Chandigarh, right. And it became the capital of the Punjab and Chandigarh in 1966. So before this, what happened? So you might be knowing that Punjab was basically united, right. Before partition, Punjab was basically united, and it was basically having capital Lahore. The Punjab's capital was Lahore. However, after the partition, we'll have to think that what will be the basically the capital of the Punjab. So Shimla became the capital of the Punjab for a few years. However, the capital from the Shimla to the Chandigarh was shifted in 1953, right, and it was done under the 1952 Act, which identified Chandigarh as a Punjab's capital. But you will, very interesting fact is associated that at that time Haryana was also part of the Chandigarh, right. So Haryana and Punjab, modern day Punjab and modern day Haryana, as well as modern day Himachal Pradesh was one big state, like it was bifurcated, basically trifurcated, and finally the Chandigarh became the capital of the Haryana as well as Punjab in 1966, basically, in which basically Punjab shares 60% of the assets and Haryana shares 40% of the ratio, right. So accordingly, this new capital has been formed, joint capital has been formed, and interestingly, the High Court of the Punjab and Haryana, it also lies in the Chandigarh only, right. So it is also one of the fact that I would like to add, right. So accordingly, we will have to understand the other aspect of the Chandigarh, the historical aspect. So we have discussed. We will discuss now the political aspect of the Chandigarh. So as of now, Chandigarh is a union territory, UT, like the Delhi, right. Delhi is also UT, Chandigarh is also UT, right. Which comes under direct administrative control of the union government, right, and it serves as a shared capital of the Punjab and Haryana. We have already discussed it, right. But the administrator generally comes from the Punjab, right. Anyone who is the governor of the Punjab by default are appointed as the administrator of what? Chandigarh, right. And key governance sector like transport, education, health, urban development are handled by the UT level department, right. In case you will be selected as AGMUT cadre, AZMUT, you will be given chance to serve the Chandigarh as well, interestingly, right, and it is considered very good cadre as well, right. And law and order is managed by the Chandigarh police. Obviously, you will be serving under the Chandigarh police if you are getting the Agmut, or Chandigarh administration, right, Chandigarh administration. And it is known for a modern architectural heritage. For example, Capitol complex, you can see it in the background, very famous one. In case you are to the Chandigarh, visit it. Then open hand monument. We said that there is Sukhna Lake, right, very interesting place, very famous place for the public hangout. In the Chandigarh, Rock Garden is there, and Rose Garden is there. These are the basically the heart and soul of the Chandigarh. If you talk about the culture and heritage linkage of the Punjab oblique Chandigarh, then this will suffice the need, right. So now having said that, so what is the key challenge, what was the proposal? So I have already discussed that Union government plans to bring in Chandigarh into their direct control and supervision, which was being protested by the Shiromani Akali Dal, SAD, right, and it is also being protested by whom, the AAP government of the Punjab. So the local people are basically protesting the government's move. Now let us try to understand what are the challenges associated with the moving such things into the union territory directly, right. First is the bill proposes to include Chandigarh under Article 240. What is 240? So 240 empowers President of India to basically administer any union territory directly or the subordinate to them. For example, in Delhi, it comes under the administrative control of the President, and on behalf of the President, LG, Lieutenant General, basically administered all these things, right. And since it will come directly under the union government control, people are protesting against it, right. Also, such move will somehow jeopardize India's federal structure, right. Why? Because we are a country having federal character in it, right, and bringing in state capital under direct control of the union government will somehow jeopardize the basically India's federal principle to a large, right. Also, it will somehow can lead into the political instability in the Punjab, right. We have seen a recent protest in the Chandigarh University about the elections, right. It is also somehow indirectly or directly related to it. Although Punjab is very prosperous state, used to be very prosperous state, nowadays they are struggling somehow, right, but they are border state, we have to understand, and hence very sensitive state as well. So if there is a political instability, our favorite neighbor can basically utilize this point to further fuel the discontent among the people of the Punjab, which should not be there, right. That is why I believe the union government also basically tried to bring back, so basically try to backstep the move as introduced by the recent constitutional amendment bill 131, right. Now Article 240 historically deals with the union territory without legislators. So in India there are union territory with legislation, for example Delhi and Pondicherry, these are the union territory having the legislation as well, right. For example, in Delhi elections are held for the CM as well as in the Pondicherry. However, rest of the UTs do not have the legislator. For example, recently J&K was also carved out as a union territory. They also have the basically the state legislative assembly, not in the rest of the union territories, right. So if President wishes to make the regulation, somehow it will interfere into the administration of the local thing, and it can also basically hamper the representation of the local people in the unity of the Chandigarh, right. So that is why it is also being protested, right. Now Punjab claim Chandigarh as their capital, however it is shared capital by the basically Haryana as well, but we have seen the asset share has been 60 to 40%, somehow greater weightage is given to the Punjab, hence they claim Chandigarh as a due capital, right, and that is why they are protesting as well, right. Also, by moving Chandigarh to a lieutenant governor rank may restrict local political participation, and hence it may hamper the democratic root democracy of the place concerned, right. So what is the solution to all these things? First is we can have the federal agreement model in which the power can be shared between the Punjab, Haryana and Union Territory. As of now, it is also happening, right. Second, we can have the constitutional clarification through a JPC, right. In the past, the several JPC has been formed to look into such continuous issue, in which there is a representation from the Rajya Sabha as well as the Lok Sabha, and a proper deliberation is done, and they can investigate into the matter further, right. Third is the We can also enhance judicial oversight to all these things, right, because at times our federal character has been saved by the judicial review. So these can be done by the different level. Also we need to deal with the ambiguity attached with the article 240, which is not much clear, right. Also somehow we will have to work for the strengthening the local government, and PRI like institution can be instituted in UT like Chandigarh in order to make it more representative. These are the basically solution to the ongoing protest by the Punjab and Haryana people on the moving intent to move the capital of basically Chandigarh from the hands of the Punjab and Haryana to the union government, right. So what is the conclusion and next step? So basically the bill touches upon key federalism and governance challenges around the Chandigarh status. It ignites political, constitutional and administrative controversies which need to be solved by an evidence based approach, political dialogue, parliamentary scrutiny and judicial oversight, right. That is all on this topic. Now based on all this information, let us try to solve the question. So next topic is IBSA. So you might be knowing that G20 meeting is happening in South Africa, and under the basically aegis of the G20, we had the meeting of IBSA as well. That stands for India Brazil South Africa Association, right. In short we call it IBSA, and it is basically association. We can see the representative of all three countries standing together, and Prime Minister Modi, who is attending the G20 session, also addressed the IBSA Leaders Summit held in the South Africa, and its relevance lies with the GS paper 2 and GS paper 3, right. You can also basically use in interview which is scheduled now, right. So now let us try to understand what is IBSA. So basically IBSA is a unique forum bringing together India, Brazil and South Africa, right. And we are known as a country which is multilingual, multicultural, multilinguistic country, having the common thread of the democracy which binds all these countries, right. That's why this forum become quite important, right. And IBSA was basically started as a dialogue forum on June 6, 2003. So generally UPSC plays with such kind of the statement that IBSA as a body was formed recently. So you might be looking for the date. It is not a recent organization if you go to the time and space kind of the thing, right. So it was formed back in 2003, right. It was an old organization, right. And basically 5 IBSA leadership summit has been held so far, and India was the IBSA chair in 2021, right. As at present Brazil is taking care of the basically chair of the IBSA, right. So that is also one of the important which can be asked in your prelims examination or otherwise, right. So now let us try to understand more about the IBSA. What is the issues? So what is holding back the IBSA and how we are not able to utilize the potential of IBSA as of now. So let us try to understand the key challenges associated with the IBSA. So first is the challenge of the sustaining political relevance amidst multiple organizations or multi-forum organizations. So what is happening? India is not only the exclusive member of the IBSA, but it is also a member of the organization like BRICS. It is also a member of the G20. We are also a member of such multiple forums. So making relevancy of IBSA amidst all these forum become quite challenging, right, because IBSA is basically struggling to assert a unique identity compared to all these organizations, right. Also we might be very strong politically, but when we talk about the economy aspect, somehow the economic integration is not that fair. For example, we lack various economic integration, and all credit goes to the several non-tariff barrier, right. And however, we are having very flourishing kind of the trade with the Brazil, which grew around 450% in last financial year. However, compared to the other countries, and the trade volume in terms of percentage grow, but not the real volume, right. That is also a challenging point, right. And we are also need to align ourselves with the multiple issues. For example, United Security reforms, United Nations reform itself, right. Then come the United Security Council reform, WTO negotiations are there, and then there are terrorism issue which affect India badly, right. So somehow we will have to understand that there are multiple challenges like this, right. Also PM Modi emphasized in a recent IBSA meeting that there is a urgent need of united security reform, right. We will discuss this in our one of the topic as well today, right. Now also there is a technology and innovation gap, right. India is very technologically advanced when we talk about the key terms like digital payment, right. When we talk about AI which is not the case with the other rest of two countries of IBSA. So, somehow we will have to work in sync with. Accordingly, IBSA Digital Innovation Alliance was formed, which is very good point as of now, since it will integrate our digital economy at large, right. Also we all three countries faces various socio-economic challenges. For example, we are facing poverty, we are facing illiteracy, we are facing the women empowerment issues, right. So, somehow we will have to work together to deal with all these points. Now, these are the issues. So, what are the solution pertaining to IBSA? So, first was the basically political issue, right. So, to make IBSA politically relevant, we will have to understand that somehow we will have to create a competition for agenda setting and global influence, right, requiring IBSA to crave a niche through the focused competition and strategic diplomacy. That is the recommendation, right. Also, in terms of the economic trade barrier, we need to work upon the comprehensive dialogues, right, in which we can basically remove non-tariff barrier, at least as of now, the starting point. Later on we can improve the other situation as well. Also, we need to basically coordinate on the global governance forum. For example, in terms of united security reforms or WTO negotiations, we need to work as a team and not we should be working as a silos. Also, IBSA Digital Innovation Alliance seeks to share digital public goods like India's UPI and health platform, which is very good point, right. In terms of the socio-economic development, we are working for the poverty elevation, social inequality and a sustainable growth, which is common goal for all these things, and IBSA fund will work in this direction. So, these are the basically challenges and the solution in which we should be working, right. Now, what are the other solution to it? So, first we need to create IBSA niche specialization strategy. Then we need to do the comprehensive economic partnership agreement (CEPA) with the IBSA countries, right. And also we need to have the joint IBSA global governance and task force, in which we can basically work upon the governance reform across the world. Also, digital innovation hub has been launched, plus we need to have the multi-stakeholder IBSA development framework in order to remove all the issues which is there between the three participating country. Hope the entire issue is clear to you about the IBSA, its genesis, what are the challenges IBSA is facing, and what are the way forward in it, right, which is given in comprehensive form in this table, right. So, basically in the conclusion we can say that IBSA remains a critical platform for India's South-South diplomacy, offering opportunities for multifaceted engagement in the trade, technology, governance reforms and sustainable development. Addressing challenges through these niche specialization and economic integrity is need of the hour. That is all on this topic, and based on this information, let us try to solve the question which is displayed on the screen. Next news is on the State Public Service Commission. So, it is very interesting news piece, right. So, let us try to understand what is the background of this news. So, you might have seen there are protests going on here and there all the time about the recruitment and the fairness issue in the state PCS examination. So, those who do not know what is state PCS, so for the union level UPSC stands which basically provides or which recommends the permanent executive, that is called bureaucrats for the union government, although most of the time they work for the state government. At the similar level, at the state level, right, there is a Public Service Commission, PSC, or PCS, generally we call it Public Service Commission or Public Service Commission, whatever you call it, right. So, examples are BPSC, you might have recently result has been published. Then UPSC, the result of main is about to come, and there is a huge vacancies as well. And there are other states like RAS is there, right, Himachal Pradesh Services is there, and Haryana Public Service Commission, the MPPCS recently is Chhattisgarh Public Commission recent result has been come, and in South as well there are commissions like Tamil Nadu Public Service Commissions and Andhra Public Commission, Telangana Public Service Commissions, right. not to forget about the Gujarat Public Service Commission, which is doing commendable work, right. So, and I hope your plan B is also to clear the PCS examination, if not the UPSC examination, right. So, and a few PCS examinations are quite popular, for example, BPSC and UPSC for the North Belt, right, because largely the examination is fair, right. So, accordingly, but not in all the cases, there are several cases of the leakage of the paper and all, right. Accordingly, what happened? So in India, we used to struggle with the Britishers regarding their share, our share into the bureaucracy, right. And till 1930, 1935, the share of Indians were quite low. Now, if you have studied the history, tell me who was the first civil servant of India, and second, very interesting, very not that relevant, but what was the rank of the Subhash Chandra Bose in the civil services examination that we call ICS examination. So, tell me in the comment box if you are able to recall it. And there are several bureaucrats who became the ministers as well. For example, as of now, our external affairs minister was a seasoned bureaucrat. Our railway minister is also a seasoned bureaucrat. So, I am giving an example how the people are basically recruited and what the value of all these bureaucrats, including you future service servants, right. So, what is happening? The chairpersons of the state public commissions are meeting was held recently in the Telangana, in which many states discuss about the various deficit they are facing, right. Accordingly, this news came into the light, right. Now, we will try to understand the various aspect of this news, right. So, this news is very well explained. We will try to understand first how to read the newspaper using all these things. So, if you see, a very clear timeline is given how civil services in India was introduced. So, it was introduced by the Montagu-Chelmsford reform, or that we famously call Montfort reform, when it was introduced 1919, right. Try to recall a very famous one if you have studied the modern Indian history. 1919, by the Montfort reform, UPSC like organization that called Federal Public Service Commission was formed in 1919, right. Later on, this was revised in 1935 Act, in which state PCS was formed, state PSC was formed for all the states. For the union, there was a Federal Public Service Commission, and for the state, there was a State Public Service Commission. This was the brief background of the UPSC and the State Public Service Commission. Now, what happened? It was formed and it was working well, right. However, like any other institution, we will have to review the mechanism of this institution as well, right. So, accordingly, this article provides you review, and this review works on multiple aspects. For example, there are issues of the fund, right. There is a issue of the fund, there is a issue of the fund, function and functionaries. 3F issues are there, right. How many F? 3F issues are there. So, let us first try to understand the function issues, right. What are the function issues pertaining to the State PCS Commission, which is not with the UPSCs. So, UPSC, the recruitment is largely fair. The people who are recruited, who are there to recruit you, are also selected on the non-partition basis, right. Generally, it is considered, and there is a largely apolitical organization. Since it is a constitutional body, it is protected by the several layers of the basically security, right. So, that is why security tenure is there. Also, UPSC invites as per this article, UPSC invites their basically members on the merit basis, and people from all walk of the life are invited to join the UPSC, right. You might have seen the several boards, and you will see the background of those board members, right. So, you will able to see not only the civil servants, but also the academicians, the people from the armed forces, people from the social lives are invited to join the UPSC board, right, which is not the case with the PCS. Since PCS is largely under the control of the state government, they are generally hampered by the basically political basically gimmickry or political will and wishes of their masters, right. Recruitment is done as per the basically political aspiration, right. Somehow they are having a kind of the osmotic relation with the politicians, wherein there is a large number of the interferences of the functions and functionaries of the politician into the state public service commission. Now coming to the public, basically the function issue we have discussed, we will discuss the fund issues as well. So in terms of the fund as well, UPSC is largely well funded organization, which is not the case with the state PCS organization. There are several cases in which we have seen the state PCS is not able to scan the OMR sheet because they do not have the sufficient fund with them, right. That is why the recruitment delay is there, right. And you might have seen the various cases in which they are not able to evaluate copies because they are not able to pay the experts. There are several examples as well. So fund का भी कहीं ना कहीं issues आया. Now functionaries में we have seen for the UPSC the retirement age is fixed, but minimum age for the recruitment in the UPSC as a panel is not fixed, right. But by convention, a person who is above 55 year age old and who is expert, renowned expert of any domain are basically recruited as an expert in the panel, in the examination panel or the interview panel, which is not the case with the basically state PCS. In the state PCS, what happened after the 41st Constitutional Amendment Act, right, the maximum age of the retirement was fixed, that is 62, right, not the minimum age. So if we are fixing the minimum age like the maximum age as well, expert of a certain qualification will enter the civil service basically board of the state PCS, right, which is the moot point of this basically article, right, and which will bring in quality into the examination process and the recruitment process both, right, which is they are suggesting. For that we will have to do somehow the Constitutional Amendment Act, right, and obviously the UPSC releases its exam calendar, which several PCS are not able to release on the time. If they are releasing, they are not able to conduct the examination on the time, resulting unprecedented delay in terms of the recruitment, resulting many people are basically trapped in this vicious cycle of the preparation, right, जिसको हम लोग पंचवर्षीय योजना भी बोलते थे पहले, right. So all these things are somehow hampering the basically prospect of the state PCS as an alternative plan B for the UPSC civil servant aspirant, right. Having said that, let us try to discuss the entire topic in detail, right. So it will lie into the GS paper 2 and context we have already discussed, right. So historical background we have discussed, so that Federal Public Service Commission was introduced in 1919, followed by 1935 in which Federal Public basically Provincial State Public Service Commission came into the picture. Now they are having the constitutional status under Article 315 and Article 323, which provides for the constitutional status of UPSC as well as the state PCS, right. And state can request UPSC to conduct joint recruitment as well, right, they can do it, right. And governor appoint the chairman of the member of the state PCS. Now tell me in the comment box who appoint the chairman and the member of the UPSC, right. We are talking about the governor, right, who appoints the chairman and the member of the state PCS officials, right. Now let us try to ponder upon the current problem in the state PCS. So first is the structural issues. So many structures lack clear manpower planning. We have already discussed the functional issues. Timely recruitment calendars we have discussed. The calendars are released on the time, but recruitment is not done on the time. And financial discipline, fund ka issue, right. So ये fund, function and functionaries. In terms of retirement and recruitment cycles are not aligned, causing vacancies, extension of retirement date and postponement of the examination. Okay? There is a discrepancies on all these things. Now there are procedural issues as well. For example, the working mechanism is quite opaque, not like the UPSC. Syllabus is not updated periodically. UPSC did the periodic updation of the syllabus, which is not done by the state PCS. Then there is a limited representation of academician and expert, and also there is a weak relevance judicial mechanism, plus there is a lacker adaptation of the technology. But having said that, I will give you an example of PCS like UP and the Bihar who releases the answer key on the time. Even the Bihar PCS releases upload the answer key and they invite the basically doubts and clarification, which is not done by the UPSC. So at times UPSC will also have to learn from the state PCS, not the case is basically one way, there is two-way learning, right. Now why delay happen? Because the sudden increase in the student competition, right. You might have seen it, the cutoff for the state PCS are increasing day by day, the question level is also increasing day by day, right. Court cases due to procedural lapse, you might have seen in the past several court case has been filed against such examination because of the alleged corruption issues. which result in the delay into the recruitment, right. And there are cases of the paper leak and irregularity, shortage of the qualified evaluator, and absence of fixed recruitment calendar. All these somehow basically jeopardize the prospect of the UPSC exam, right. Now, what are the recommendation for reform? First is the we have to strengthen institutional independence, right. We have to reduce the political interference into the state PCS boards, right. Now, we have to do the better manpower planning. The state must project their vacancy need for up to 5 to 10 years. We have seen the cases in which if there is a election year in the states, they will increase the vacancy. I will not take the name of the state, but it is seen in the past, right. It should not be the case. There should be long term projection, short term projection, and immediate projection about the recruitment vacancies, so that student can plan accordingly, right. They should not be live into the dark, right. Also, we need to improve the exam quality. We have seen the quality of the question are very substandard at times from the state PCS examination. They should work on this line from the UPSC. They really ask very quality questions, right. And they need to update the syllabus time to time, because it is the time of AI. In time of AI, if you are not integrating the component of the technology into the examination, how the future bureaucrat will be compatible to the AI? If it is in the syllabus, naturally they will learn about the basically AI from the books, and ultimately they will use it as a bureaucrat. So, there need to be work upon this thing, right. Also, transparency and reform composition of the PCS is a basically need of the hour, right. And having said this, let us try to solve this question which is displayed on the screen. So, next topic is on the COP 30. So, we know that Conference of Party recently concluded in Brazil. So, it started in the month of basically November, right, and concluded on the Saturday, right. So, the timeline was from the 10th to 21st of the November, and it occurred in BAM, right. I believe it is BAM only, right. Anyways, so we will have to understand for the UPSC purposes, they can ask where COP 30 was conducted, right, name of the place or the country, and in the mains they can ask you the key outcome of the COP 30 and what are the challenges such negotiations are facing. We will try to focus first the prelims pointers, right, then we will try to discuss few challenges that basically COP like institutions or the discussion are facing, right. So, what is the context? So, deliberation for the COP 30 concluded on Saturday, right, and it is relevant for the GS paper 3, that is the environment, as well as it can be used in GS paper 2 for the international relation, environmental diplomacy we can call it, right. You can see the COP president which is in the background. Anyways, let us try to understand the what was the basically the COP 30 all about. So, COP 30 concluded against a backdrop of the contested fossil fuel roadmap, renewed call for the triple adaptation finance, and persistent gap between the pledges and implementation, right. जो pledge करते हैं, it is like your study table as well. You pledge to study for the 12 hour, but you end up reading 6 hour only, right. Or for that matter, if you try to compare it the basically COP, so you committed for the 12 hour, but ended only reading 3 hours, right, because the 3 times gap is there, right. And negotiations will stand by the geopolitical divisions and logistical disruptions. There was a fire also occurred in that place, right. Anyways, it will not be asked in the UPSC, but you should be knowing. And key outcomes were a set of voluntary fossil fuel roadmaps. It is also a roadmap. There is no conclusion, right. Adaptation finance place. It is place. There is no finance on the ground, and new text on the strengthening ambitions, but disagreement on the binding language left several issues unresolved. Since it is unresolved, more likely chances that UPSC may ask question, what are the challenges that such negotiation, climate negotiations are facing, and it can be umbrella term question that can be asked, right. However, let us try to focus more on the backgrounder. So, it occurred in Brazil, we know it, and the conference reaffirmed the global commitment to limit warming to global warming to 1.5 degrees C, right. As usual, it is nothing new, right. And basically they marked a transition towards a real transformation in economics and society. and they call it global mutuario, right, means collective effort. So the keyword used by this COP30 was global mutuario. You can see it in the background. It is a local term used for the collective work done by the different communities, right. It can be asked what was the theme or core of or outcome of the basically COP30. So it was global mutuario, right. Anyways, having said that, a major breakthrough was a decision to triple the climate adaptation finance by 2030 to support vulnerable populations, for example, women's, elderly people and the children's, right, or people who are displaced like Rohingyas in the Bangladesh area, right, or there are countries like Maldives who are quite vulnerable to the rise in the sea level, right, most affected by climate change. And the BAM mechanism for the just global transition, that we call JCT, right, was established. It can be asked the main BAM mechanism for the just global transition, JCT, was formed in which of the COP, so COP30, right, and 59 voluntary global indicators were adopted to measure the progress on the adaptation and resilience building. Not only that, a technology implementation program was also launched, that we call TIP, right, like tip tip वर्षा पानी, right, just to याद करने के लिए, nothing to it, right. So TIP was also formed in which to COP30, which was recently concluded, right. Now coming to the next thing that is related to the COP30. So this TIP was launched to strengthen climate technology transfer and capacity building for developing countries. So TIP, who is the audience of the TIP? To developing country, right. They will support the technology transfer in it, right. The gender and climate action plan was also updated, right, to include the women's into the climate change, right. A dialogue on the trade and climate was initiated to address the trade related climate measures and barriers, and COP30 mobilized commitment for the at least 1.3 trillion annually for the climate action by 2030 and operationalized the loss and damage fund, LDF, right. They also concluded without explicit global commitment. That's why it is of less important, because we are not able to come into any conclusion. However, what is important for the UPSC purposes or the any state PCS examination purposes, that Turkey will host COP31 with Australia presiding in 2026. Very important, you will have to make it as a notes, right. So Turkey will be hosting the next COP 2030, right. So hope in the Turkey some conclusion can be drawn. As of now, there is no conclusion. Now let us try to understand what the challenges the COP30 faced and what should be the solution to it. So first challenge that COP30 faced, basically we are discussing only the key challenges, not all the challenges. So draft COP30 text omitted binding roadmap, right. So if there is no binding roadmap language, it will have lesser impact on the countries who are basically supposed to commit the change in the fossil fuel consumption, right. Also, a coalition of 80 plus countries pushed for a voluntary roadmap while major producer country resisted it. It keeps on occurring. There are conflicting opinion on such issues and they keep on fighting. Hence, we are not able to come into the conclusive basically remark on the COP as of now, right. Second challenge that COP30 basically faced was a climate finance shortfall. We have discussed that people are pledging but they are not delivering the fund, right. What happened? So developed country goal to mobilize US $1 billion 100 per year remains contentious, and COP30 discussion called for tripling adaptation to 120 billion per year and overall measure scaling up to meet multi-100 billion needs. So they are basically high talks. They are talking but not able to deliver. They are not able to even collect the $100 billion, right. How they will be able to triple it? Very distant possibilities. In the backdrop that US also basically are out from the Paris climate deal, right. Also, challenge number 3 is the implementation gap. What is happening? The global stock trade, right, GST process concluded the world is not on the track to meet Paris long term goal and progress is insufficient across mitigation, adaptation and support. So we are also running basically short. How we will be able to do it in the future is again very interesting point to see. Now what is the challenge number 4? So basically estimated loss and damage financing needs for developing countries can be 100 of billion annually, right. COP30 calls intensified to triple adaptation funding. They are calling but there is again no solution to it, right. In terms of the challenge number 5, monitoring, reporting and verification, that is the MRV, Data quality and governance transparency is a big issue, because there are data, but the quality of data we are not sure about, right, and people are not willing to share the data as well. There is no uniform adaptation of the data as well, right. So these are basically impacting the climate in the long term, right. So hope you are able to understand the COPE and the key outcome. That was not that important. Now based on that information, let us try to solve this question which is displayed on the screen.